This is Stacy Marshall with Printware Magazine.
Matt Vassallo with the rhinestoneworld.com.
Richard Greaves with screenmaking.com.
Brian Walker with RTP Apparel.
This is Peter Walsh with M&R, and you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Podcast hosted by
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
And
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Keep on listening.
I don't know if these guys are that regular.
Welcome into the show, everybody. It is Friday, July 16th, 2021, and I am Eric Campbell sitting in for Terry Combs, and you can find me at ericcampbell.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Today, Eric and I will be talking to Andrea Bommarito of ZSK. Been on the show several times. We love having Andrea on, good friend. And we're going to discuss her role in developing and testing processes for specialty embroidery. We know that she gets deep into the testing and you know, she lives it. She's an embroidery nerd. So I can't wait to talk a little more embroidery. I'm becoming an embroidery nerd too. I just hanging out with the right people here. And I'm going to, in fact, next week I get to actually embroider for the first time myself. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, Eric and Andrea will probably geek out. It'll all go over my head and we'll have a blast. So how about that?
Works for me. I can't wait because honestly, of the people in the industry I've been able to geek out with and talk about embroidery, like Andrea's like the OG. She and I have been able to talk about this stuff forever, and it's always been great because we do get a little deep into the stacks and we're working on stuff and technical stuff, and it's always been fun. So I'm glad to have her on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool.
Been too long.
Yeah, definitely. This will be a blast. So looking forward to that. We'll get right to that here, but let's check in and say good morning to some folks here first. Eric, we've got Cindy checking in. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
Okay, Eric, Gusta is what I always say.
Yosta is closer.
Yosta?
But I'm still not there. Yosta is closer, but I'm still not there.
He
What
still
I need
talks
is
to
a
me,
recording.
so, yeah,
friend.
he
I need
still
recording.
talks to me. Yep. He even he's even offered to pick me up from the airport if I ever come visit. So you know, we're still friends. It's good.
Good guy.
Kathleen, thank you for being here. Todd,
Yes.
good morning, sir.
Morning, Todd.
David Gross, good morning, sir. Thanks for checking in.
Absolutely.
Here to check out some embroidery talk. I like it. Tom Farr from across the pond, right?
Nope. Tom Farr is from Buzzards Bay Embroidery.
That's right. That's right.
so
I'm sorry.
good.
I'm thinking of Frank.
Tom Farr at Buzzards Bay does some really cool stuff. But yeah,
Apologize,
you're
Tom.
thinking
My
of
bad.
Frank.
I'm thinking of Frank.
Johnson
Sorry, I
across
jumped
the pond.
ahead there. Yeah, good thing you're here to keep me on track. If Terry was here, I'd just be looking like a fool all morning.
It's only me who tends to be like, I do remember people more than I probably should sometimes. Not everybody. I'm going to say, all you guys who come in with business names, I'm sorry. Sometimes you come in with a business name and I'm just like, Friendly Stitches, that's you. I'm sorry. Please tell me who you are. I can't remember everybody.
All right. Well, good morning, Michelle, and
Yes.
everybody checking in. So excited to chat with everybody. Excited to have you guys, you know, ask your questions, have you guys put in your comments, and we always love interacting with the regulators here. So we really would love to continue that going forward. So let's talk a little news here real quick, though, Eric, if that works for you.
Absolutely. We got stuff to talk about this time.
Yeah. In fact, Todd says you even learned something about embroidery at DAX. Can't
true.
wait to see what you learn at the Applique Getaway.
I think mostly Todd's just giving me trouble because I stayed in our Success Group booth and had all of my embroidery people showing up. I had a lot of my class people show up, and luckily a lot of them also walked away and wanted to know more about OSG.
That's right.
But sincerely, there was a lot of embroidery chatter going on.
There was. You and Brian stood back there for a good solid I don't know, at least half hour.
I took up some space.
No, that was awesome. You guys were into it, man. I was like, holy cow, their brains are both gonna go.
You gotta talk shop, man. You gotta talk shop.
Yeah, that's right. So DAX update real quick. So yeah, we all got back. Eric was there. We'd loved having Eric in the booth with us and hanging out when he wasn't teaching and doing all that and talking to the embroidery peeps out there. So great show as far as attendees went. The attendees were there. I posted a picture over on the our Success Group page of the line to get in the first day. It was backed up out the door, people waiting to get in at 10 a.m. and they all rushed in and they all went and said, okay, where is everybody? And, you know, so I actually had some questions about that. I'm like, well, why, where are all the exhibitors? Right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, after started talking to some people and talked to Scott Ritter from Dax, the challenges of the supply situation are real. So if you've got nothing to sell, it's a little tough to go to a show. And then the other challenge is some of the companies were still under travel ban. So, I get it, but there are also some other companies that were noticeably missing that didn't make a whole lot of sense. There was, in fact, one of the challenges that I was a little concerned about was the fact that there was 0 sublimation people there.
Yeah, this is true.
No sublimation people at all. So the sublimation education that people were getting on the floor was a craft company showing people how to use a Cricut press with artistry markers.
Yeah, I mean,
so if that's somebody's first exposure to sublimation, that might be a little bit of a challenge to overcome down the road.
Well, I'll say this: there's nothing wrong with the artistry markers. We had the people.
It's awesome for what
they're cool. They're cool products. But yeah, I certainly think there were opportunities missed on the floor. I can't blame anybody for not coming because really we know the supply chain stuff. We were talking before the show about the funny jokes about like Richardson caps and people are trying to go jump through hoops and do backroom deals to find the caps they need. We know that there's been supply chain issues all through this year. We knew they were going to continue, but at the same time, there was certainly some people who were missed. And if nothing else, let's say it in the nicest way possible. We missed everybody. There were people who we wanted to see at the show that were certainly missed and who we would have loved to have for the
and you're exactly right, Eric. That's definitely my point. It's not to call anybody out. It's not to make anybody feel bad for not being there. It's to say, hey, you know what? There are some opportunities here. Don't sleep on this. And like you said, we'd love to see you. We'd love to hang out and catch up. It's been too long. It was. I didn't realize how much I knew I was I knew I missed it, but at what level? I mean, just that opportunity, like you said, to get there and sit and talk and have that conversation that you got to have with Brian. I get to have a nice long conversation with Brian too. And others from our success group that came by and, just get pictures, getting to hang out face to face with Todd. We started a company together and we hardly ever see each other. So, those kinds of opportunities were cool. So, all right. So that's kind of the Dax update. Attendees were great. The people that were there were doing great. I saw a lot of equipment leaving the show floor out the front. Saw a couple F2100 Epson DTG machines walk out the front door with folks, hopefully paid for, and lots of other stuff. I know the folks over there at Magic Touch. I saw Mr. Joseph Erich walking by and loading somebody up with stuff. So people are ready, right? I think the common theme I heard from I can't think of anybody that I heard there that was saying that business wasn't picking up. I think everybody I talked to, their business was picking up. It may not be exactly where they want it yet, but it was picking up. So I think that bodes well. I think the trends are heading in the right direction, and I'm feeling really optimistic about how things will continue to evolve the rest of this year and into next year.
Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of stories from people saying we had to take loans. We had to do. There are people who had been through some stuff. They've been through this last year, and there's no lying that there was tough stuff going on. But it seemed like the people who buckled down, who turned into finding new avenues, were there and were trying to get back out. Like, even if they were coming with the hardship under their belts, everybody who we talked to seemed to also have concepts where they were headed. Things were picking back up, and they kind of gritted their teeth and hung in there as best they could. And now they're starting to expand. Now they're starting to get out there. And it was surprising to see how much was kind of growth mindset. So people were really in the mindset that this can change if we buckle down. So it was cool.
Yep. Yeah, it was good. So let's see here. Todd says, even if you don't have anything to sell, your customers want to see you.
This is true.
Yeah. There is something to be said about this face-to-face relationship building. I think, lots of people have gotten really good at doing things like this and Zoom. There's a new podcast every day, right, or whatever. and that's totally cool. The more information we can share, the better we can communicate together in all sorts of forms and fashions. People got to see things that they'd never seen before because maybe they weren't able to get out to a in-person show. But for me, I think our industry is a touch and feel industry, and on all sides of things, right? We need to see the equipment in action. We need to touch and feel the materials. We need to understand the differences in things that you just can't get across on video all the time. And I feel like we have an awesome little community too. I call it a little community, but our industry is actually rather big, but it has this small town feel to it, right? Where everybody knows everybody, competitors are not, everybody gets along really well. And so coming back to that was really cool. So,
no, totally agree. I mean, I think that there's a place for all of it. I love that we have more expanded abilities online. I think, like you said, underserved communities that are having a hard time getting to shows can actually get to all this online education we're doing. But I love that there's the hybrid model, because there's still something about the, on-scene communication that happens. People ask questions, people talk about different things, and it's like my wife gives me trouble about how many samples I bring to the shows. I always tease everybody because I'm hauling around 3 bags of embroidery samples. I'm saying, when I bring samples, that's what opens up the conversations. And sometimes it's literally just looking through a pile of different embroideries and samples and techniques that's going to get someone to even spark on the question that they didn't know they had yet.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff happens live in a way that's hard to do online.
Sure.
So I think there's a place for all of it. I'd love to see all of it continue, and I love the new hybrid models. Yeah. So but it was great to be at DAX.
Totally. One more quick comment on that, Eric,
sure.
And then I'll let you jump in with your news story finally here. Mary said, I really wanted to come to DAX KC, but when I looked at the exhibit list, I had to opt out. Yeah, that I get it. I know that that's a tough decision to make. If you were asking me for advice, which I know you're not, but this is what I do, I just give it anyhow. I would show up anyways and just see who else you might be able to meet. Maybe it's not the exact person on your list, but there was some new and interesting stuff, and I think there was plenty of conversations to be had, maybe some people that you wouldn't have thought of that were doing different things. And so I get it. I totally get it. So it's not me saying, bad decision, Mary. It's just me saying, hey, if it was me, I'd just still show up just to check it out. Maybe it's just an in and out one day at that point, because there was 2 aisles, you get through it. But but the opportunity to talk to people and just kind of get new information and exchange. Brian says talking shop with people was the best. So
absolutely. And like I said, Brian was like superstar chat. That was awesome. So we get to really get into it.
And Mary says 2022. Absolutely, Mary. We will see you there.
For sure.
I'm actually looking forward to meeting you there at 2022 DAX Kansas City.
And honestly, I think this is just the beginning. People were dipping their toe in the water, and we're going to see more.
Yep, absolutely. Totally agree. All right, enough of that.
Great.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think everybody wanted to talk about this. I mean, every time we've talked to somebody from the industry since we've been back who hasn't gotten to the shows yet, the first question is always, how did the show go?
Yep.
So I think everybody wants to hear this stuff. And as far as my news story, all I wanted to point out, because there was a bunch of great news stories out there I saw some stuff from Graphics Pro. I saw, impressions. Everybody's got all these news stories. Rather than cover individual stories, all I want to say is that I was heartened to see that the stories weren't just, the supply chain issues. Are they there, and are those stories prevalent? Absolutely. But we were also seeing new hires where people were expanding into new sections of the industry. We were seeing multiple companies bringing in people who are specific to kind of certain use cases for their product that they might not have been looking toward. There were new partnerships going on, and seeing that in the news right now is just something I had to say I'm happy to see. Because honestly, we've seen all of the shutting down and the dealing with various problems with supply and the dealing with that stuff, and that's still going to happen. But it was cool to see that there was also people saying, all right, what are we going to do going forward? What can we do that's new? Elevating people into new positions, and just seeing that in the news just made me happy. So are there price hikes coming? Yes, those are in the news too. Are there issues with supply? Absolutely, those are there. But I'm also seeing people who are looking toward these new avenues of kind of expansion, and it looks like there's some real movement going underway. So I'm pretty happy to see that. So like I said, I just want to say I commend all you who are in that growth mindset, and I think people here are in that mindset. If you believe that you are going to grow through your own work and efforts, then I think you are in the best position you can be. I mean, slings and arrows of fate are going to happen, but if you're in there saying, I'm there to be in the arena and do the thing, then you're already ahead of the game compared to someone who's waiting for those things to knock them out. So I love to see that the businesses are in that space right now and are looking to grow.
Yeah. And Eric, like you're talking about there, yes, there are going to be the challenges are real, right?
Absolutely.
Andrea is going to be with us in just a second, and I know that they've got the same challenges, right? We've all got these challenges of finding the stuff that we need.
Sure.
Trying to find some tank tops just for a friend. I wasn't really trying to make this big sale, and I couldn't even find a freaking tank top in teal anywhere for somebody. It was just like, whoa, what's going on here? But here's the deal.
Yeah.
That also breeds opportunity. This is
Absolutely.
We are a creative industry. It's time to get creative, folks. We need to really push ourselves to be creative. We need to find new solutions. Everybody needs to kind of get focused on what it is that they can do for their customers, how you solve that problem for your customers. And, like Eric said, yeah, price hikes are happening. There was several news items. Yeah. Heck, the cost of getting my house sprayed for bugs just went up for the first time in 7 years. This is the reality of it. So we all have to be aware of that. But as long as we get creative and, like Eric said, have that mindset of, hey, we're in the arena, we're doing this. Mm-hmm. Keep that mindset, you're going to do it. So I love it. Yeah. I love it, Eric. Yeah. That's a great share.
There's no better time for that design thinking where we're saying, okay, you don't say no, you say not the original vision you came with, but here's an option. Here's something coming in.
Yeah. So, yeah. But real quick, Eric, Kathleen just popped a question in there that I'm not sure I have a great answer for, but I'll So she asked, any sense as to how long the supply challenges will go on? I don't have a great sense of it specifically because the challenges are kind of far reaching and we're actually probably dealing with challenges that originated quite a while ago. And part of it was, there was I think there was still way too much sitting on hands happening late into this, which probably started some of the challenges that happened. Again, I'm not here to judge or say anything, negatively. I totally understand all of that. I can't say that I always was pushing forward as hard as I could the whole time. There were nervous moments, and so I think we're probably going to see it for a little bit longer, but also what I've noticed is the situation kind of feels grim. But then if you just kind of dive into the problem and then all of a sudden, it kind of loosens up without you really noticing. So I guess that's not a great answer to your question, but I think that it probably will be here for a bit, and, we're going to get through. We'll see. It could make a really interesting fourth quarter for sure. I think as far out as you can plan. I think as far out as you can plan, the better off you're going to be. So there you go.
Have options in your hacks. I mean, we're still seeing people dealing with issues at the docks and clogging at the ports. That's still happening. You're still loosening up because of we had that literal clog in the canal that caused us to have all that stuff behind. And I know that stuff still hasn't unwound. We're still, it can be months of stuff going on like that. So I think that's still very possible. I would definitely be there with your creative options and look for sources. But I with Cindy, I understand how she feels. I just want to take a photo of my vendors inventory list that offer all the 112 zeros, all colors. My customers don't believe me. Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. I understand for sure. It's hard, especially if you're dealing with, I know I did e-commerce. E-commerce, sometimes people expect that same staple good to be there all the time. It's a good time to look at your product lines and see what's available and start coming up with solutions. Look at those staples that you always use and say, what would I do? Because honestly, we used to do that when we were leading into stuff. Before there were stock issues, we would have backups because we knew this was the case. If we had a style that we used all the time, we always knew what the next style down the road would be to try and get somebody serviced. And I think if you haven't been doing that with your product line, it's a good time to do it for sure. And like I said, Brian's right. This is what I keep hearing too. Someone told me a vendor had 200 containers sitting on ships in the LA Bay. That's what I hear too. That containers are on ships and it's taking a long time to get them unloaded and processed. So that's probably going to continue for a while. But if there is any better, there's no better time than now to look at what your stock looks like and what you're using for sure.
Yeah, totally. All right. Real quick, David asked, how's the Graphics Pro show? So I've not personally been to one, but Clay from Corel Trainer has been to a couple. In fact, I think he's on his way to New Jersey right now for the Meadowlands show. And he said it's been great. Terry walked the Irving show early on there. And he said it was fantastic as far as, people getting back and that same kind of feel, right? There's obviously some trepidation and get all that. But I also have this sense that people are just ready to get back. So I'm hoping that's not a bad thing ultimately, but let's just go with what you feel and go with what you feel comfortable with. And but again, the feedback that we got on the Graphics Pro shows, David, was that they were very well attended also. So there we go.
No, people want it. I'll say this much: if there's any good thing to come out of this, that people want it. People want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exactly.
let's definitely keep our eyes on the prize, keep our eyes on the future, on the horizon.
There we go.
And be the best we can be to be positioned for when things loosen up.
Yeah.
I think that's how to do it.
Totally. All right, well, Eric, we really need to get to what we really were here for.
Of course.
The real star of the show is waiting in the wings. We need to get
I know.
to her.
Andrea is here. Come on.
She is here waiting patiently, going, all right, are these guys ever going to shut up? But we do have to have a dad joke. I mean, you cannot have two regular guys nowadays without a dad joke. I don't think it's possible.
I mean,
so
I don't even remember how it started, but now I just don't know what I would do.
yeah.
All right. So what's the dad joke, sir?
All right. You ready here? Okay.
I'm ready.
This one's kind of flows quickly, so you have to play along here. A
right.
guy threw milk at me, Eric. How dare he?
How dare he?
How dare he?
So yeah, I wasn't ready. I wasn't
You
really
were
ready.
ready.
I thought I was
a
ready,
little
but
fast.
can you really be ready for?
No, you can't.
How dare
You can't be
I
ready
don't.
for something that bad. Now, here's the
think
deal
so.
on that one. There's a equipment supply shop just up the street from us here. They rent out equipment, kind of stuff, and their marquee sign, except for when they're hiring, their marquee sign always has a dad joke on it. So that came from that marquee sign. I'll take a picture of it later.
So that's extra impressions for your advertising dollar, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Dad jokes serving the community.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Real quick, Wade did confirm that he was there at GPX yesterday, and it was smaller than usual, but great being out shows again. So there we go.
Very cool.
Good feedback.
Very
Thanks,
cool.
Wade. All right, Eric, keep us moving here.
All right. So before we dive in, thanks to everyone who's checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys with your show ideas. If you're listening to the podcast version of our show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys with your industry friends right now so that they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you do your podcast listening. If you're watching us live right now, please join in with comments and questions. And everybody who is here doing this live commenting, questioning, Q&A, thank you for being here. And by all means, please do share it. We would love to have more of these industry brains together in the Brain Trust. So thank you.
Yep, there we go. Awesome. And Dale almost made me spit out my tea. As to follow up to my really bad dad joke, Dale said, "Eric, you weren't in the mood."
Yeah, you wonder why I coughed, because I did the classic rookie mistake, which is to look over at the comments while I'm supposed to be doing a read. And of course, that was the cough. That was me trying not to laugh out loud. Thank you, Dale, for
yes, that was fantastic.
for
Dale.
getting a dairy-themed joke in to make me spit in the middle of the take. So
yeah, there we go. All right, well, let's do this, Eric. We need to get Andrea in here, so let's get her on, bring her in here. And fans of the Two Regular Guys know that Andrea is our original embroidery expert and a great friend of the show, great friend in general. But for those of you that don't know Andrea as well as we do, Andrea, start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and we're just going to make you dive right in here, ma'am.
All right. So first of all, I have to ask you this. Did you hear about the circus fire?
No, I did not.
It was intense.
Okay, that was better than yours.
Moms with dad jokes. I like it. That could be
Anyway.
a podcast right there.
Mom jokes be dad jokes.
My husband has a ton of them, and I love
All right.
them.
Well, if we run low, we'll reach out.
So, yeah, I'm Andrea, and well, first of all, I have to say that I was very excited about the picture that you used for the, for promoting the podcast with me doing a selfie in front of the machine with a peace sign and pursy lips, because that's what our kids do. And I have a little funny story about that. Part of it is I'm third generation in our company of a family business that's solely in embroidery and sewing. And we were at a trade show. And during this trade show, it was Father's Day. And so I took this selfie picture in front of the machine with the peace sign and the pursy lips. And there was another vendor there that was showing phone cases being sublimated. And they were doing these demos. So I went over to this wonderful vendor, put it on a phone case, and gave it to my dad and said, "Happy Father's Day." So yeah. So that is the funny story about that. But that kind of ties into, who I am. I'm third generation in this business. I've been doing embroidery and sewing and decoration and other manner as well, rhinestones, getting into DTG, things like that. I've been in it for about 20 years. If I had to best describe what I do, I am an application specialist. So I do help, figure things out as far as how to do things, how to fix things, how to troubleshoot, and it's not just embroidering. It's also in the process of the embroidering and the process of, the garment to the end product, whether that's like how to get it through the machine in the most efficient way. And even back end type of computer software programs and things like that, and how we can make things better. So, and, part of it is I deal with everyone's crap. It's like, I can't do this. How do I do this? And I love it. Like, it's my passion. I love doing that kind of stuff. So I kind of run our design studio, and in the studio, it's kind of like my lab. I definitely need a lab coat, a clipboard, and some goggles, just for fun, I mean, you gotta do that every once in a while.
Sure.
But I train on different software programs such as Wilcom, EPC, GIS, IDS, whatever I can get my hands on. I love learning. I love learning, and I will tell you this, that I continue to learn, and I continue to reach out and talk. Eric and I can sit there and have like an hour conversation and not once mention anything other than embroidery.
No way.
So, and it's like, and we can't get enough of it. It's like, okay, well, I got to go. Okay. Well, you hang up first.
I love it.
So, this is true. I mean, especially because like Andrea, like you're saying, you do everything through fulfillment. And I've been in the same boat you were, but in a small business is where I was doing it for the one business mostly before I started doing consulting. And we get into the weeds pretty easily, because it's like there is this world, and I love to see Andrea talking about it, because it's multimedia, it's applications and digitizing, which everybody wants to talk about that stuff. But then it's like garment sourcing, it's stabilizers, it's materials, it's machine settings, it's throughput, it's workflow. There's this entire chain of stuff that happens that has to, and we know this like intuitively in business, but I don't think people get that there's people on the other side who have to be providing these answers when someone asks. And I think you're doing a lot of that, more than people think they are. There's
a lot of things that people don't realize go on behind the scenes.
Sure.
And I think when they jump into it, they have to take a step back and look at the whole picture. And that's what I help do, is I help them look at the whole picture. And how do we make things better? How do we achieve something? In addition, I have developed curriculum for training for ZSK. Like, I joke about it with my kids, that I'm a YouTube star, because they all want to be YouTube stars, and they, so basically I'm the YouTube star because nobody else wanted to be in the videos. But we came, I developed a whole curriculum, we continue to do things. We have workshops here, and we, I teach sometimes at trade shows, and I do have to say I miss DAX. But unfortunately, we are one of those people, excuse me, that are experiencing supply problems. And it's, and I think part of it, and I'm going to kind of dive into this little, part right now, but is that a lot of companies, industrial companies, have put away a lot of their large equipment for maintenance, closed it down. And I think for bringing that back into, bringing it back into production or whatever it may be, like imagine these container ships, to put them away and then to bring them back out. That's a big feat right there. And then on top of it, to have the workers to do it.
Yeah.
So it's all, it's not just these little things, it's these big things too, that people are putting their machines out of commission during COVID because they didn't have it. That was the thing to do. So now we're feeling it. Now, think about the lumber industry. I mean, that's like the Richardson hats of embroidery. And
for sure.
I mean, and again, that's something that we've had to deal with. We've gotten through a lot of it. We've been lucky. And it's, it sucks, let's just put it out there. It sucks, it sucks for everybody.
You guys are forward thinkers. And I think that probably is, like you said, you said you got lucky, but I think it probably has more to do with the fact that you guys are forward thinkers and probably have been working on this. I know you guys work hard through all of these things. So, Andrea, before we get into the actual stuff that we brought you on here to talk about, you said you loved answering the questions and solving problems. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you real quick, if you don't mind. Cindy early on asked a question, and so I want to put this out there for you. I'm going to post my question for Andrea. Since I'm listening and sewing, I sew caps on my ZSK. I have one problem, bill scuffing. What can I do? I've tried putting a piece of batting.
So
sorry.
So behind the head of the ZSK, there's a bill protector, and it's like kind of a U-shape or C-shape metal piece. And what you can do is you can take tubing. I don't know what it's exactly called. But if you take this tube and kind of cut it down the middle, you can then put it over this, I'm sorry. I can't explain these things.
No, I
That's what's great about technology is that, a lot of times we do FaceTime, we do Zoom meetings, things like that. But if you take this tubing and it's almost like air hose tubing, very small air hose tubing. And again, you slice it down the middle and you put it across this thing, it'll help with that scuffing on the bill.
Yep. So, there we go. Okay, perfect. I like I said, I knew I was putting you on the spot, so it was more for my entertainment.
I think it was a test to be like, does she really know what she's talking about?
Really an embroidery expert,
or is she faking it till she makes it?
Yeah. Ramona says Andrea. Ramona says Andrea, the embroidery wizard. She's amazing. So there you go.
Ramona. Hi, Ramona.
Yeah. And by the way, I will say, as for those YouTube videos, if you guys know, as you can see from like the big fake image behind me, I'm running ZSK and I've got a sprint that I'm running. It is always funny to have someone who personally in your ear while you're doing something. So sometimes I'm sitting there and it's Andrea teaching me how to use the unit while I'm like, I forgot how to do something. Let me grab that YouTube video. It's like, it's a little weird.
I'm very humbled by the people that I talk to because they're like, I love your videos. They're so helpful. And that's all I can, that's what makes me happy. And then like when I talk to people on the phone, they're like, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. And I just start laughing because again, I was the person that just could do it, you
were willing to be on camera.
Good
job.
and I do love teaching. I really do love getting in front, and that's another thing that I do is like, at the trade shows, I will do seminars if I have the ability to, the time, and then I love writing too. I've written some articles for the different magazines, and if I have time, I will do it. And I love doing that kind of stuff. I love getting that education out there. I'm always learning. So I love, again, like talking with Erich, about just stuff. And like, I mean, there's been times where I'm like driving home and I'll call Erich and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Just.
We have absolutely just done that. So also, if you guys know, if you ask Andrea a question about something, you may or may not get her answer and mine. You never know. I don't require her to tell you that, guys. But honestly, I've asked her stuff too. So you never know. You might be getting both our answers.
There you go. All right, Erich. Well, let's keep moving here, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it. But yeah, I do have to say, people know you from the booth. People certainly know you from the booth. I don't think they always know that so many of the awesome embroideries that are in the booth are yours, that you've done the digitizing work on those. Like the solar system piece, if you haven't seen the big solar system piece, that one's one of the big stunners that I love that you did.
I pulled it out for you.
Did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that piece. Anyway, but when people come to you with like something out of the ordinary or a process that's bothering them, I mean, people know that you're developing these processes with them. Like, what's your first step for crafting the solution? How do you get into these issues with folks when they come to you, like with this new kind of thing, with this new thing they need to be doing?
Yeah, it all depends on how I'm being approached, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely different segments of, what we need to troubleshoot, what we need to figure out, things like that. I mean, first of all, like here, the typical thing is quality. Okay, I've got this hat that I'm stitching on. It's not stitching great. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, so where do we go from here? So first of all, I take a complete step back. And I always tell people, I said, you're going to hate my answer because I'm always going to say it depends. And it's true. I mean, it just really depends on, you got to look at it from the whole perspective. You can't look at it from just machine. You can't look at it from just digitizing, just thread. I mean, we go in and we are, and I say we because it's not just me. I am surrounded by a lot of great people on my team that help me as well. And we shoot ideas back and forth, and that is one of the greatest things about what we do, is that we've got people in our business that have been in the industry for a long, long time, and we're able to work with each other to help figure these things out. So let's say somebody comes to me about quality, I have to look and assess the whole thing. I consult with them and say, okay, what are you using? How are you using it? Show me what you're doing. Because it could be something from hooping to, to the thread that they're using, to the needle that they're using. I mean, we really look at it from a micro perspective, and we really look at it from, okay, send me the design. And a lot of times what I will do is, okay, send me the design. Let me look at it. Let me see if I see any discrepancies that would cause this issue. Let me see, what could possibly be improved if something's going to be improved. Here's a prime example. Just a couple weeks ago, I had a customer come to me. They were stitching on a sublimated hat. With sublimated hats, they're very slippery. When you put the needle down into the fabric and it comes back up several times, you're going to get this white that's showing through because it's a sublimated fabric. Now, Aaron, I expect you to be like, yeah, I totally understand this.
That's exactly what I would have said right there.
See, I just keep on trying not to have my speaking to the choir moment. I'm like, oh, how many times have I explained the halo around a sublimated, like an embroidery over sublimation? How many times have I explained this?
But because not only the sublimation, but the type of fabric that it was, there was a lot of slippage. And we don't realize this because we're hooping it right. We are putting the right backing on it. We're stitching with the right needle. But when looking at it, we tried 3 times in changing the digitizing to make that more balanced because there was lots of registration issues. So we had to, we looked at the hooping, you have to look at it. And I learned, I use this term from you, Eric, you have to take a holistic approach.
True.
You have to go in and you have to take a step back. Those are very common things, quality issues. I have a jacket back. I have this, I have that. But what we do is take a step back and say, okay, is it doing it on just this needle or is it doing it on all needles? Is it, this or this, and we just try to hone in on what the main problem is. And I think that's one of the big differences that we bring to the table, is that we're really trying to get to the bottom of it. We're not just trying to mask it like, oh, it's a bad design. Oh, it's this, or, oh, it's that, like we really try. And there are times where, yes, it is a bad design, or the machine's out of whack or something like that. So, that's one thing, if, I I also get approached by customers who are not necessarily our customers, but are customers of, other dealers, and they have specific applications that they want to learn that might be kind of very specialty. Or let's say, for an example, this customer wants to network all their machines together, have it communicate with the server, use the special ZSK code, do the barcoding, things like that. Those are all things that we understand too,
Yeah.
So I will get approached with somebody who says, hey, I've got this machine. I know it's capable of all this stuff, but I haven't quite figured it out. What do I do? So again, I take that consultative approach and learn what they exactly want to do, and kind of make sure that we're getting all the right information from them and they're getting all the right information from me. So many times with orphan customers too, I have to figure out, what the whole history is of the machine, what type of machine. And what's cool about ZSK is that ZSK is so, their line is so in depth as far as what they can do, with different applications. And for example, we have this thing called roll to basket and roll to roll, doing for like military name tapes. And it's a name queue that just continues feeding names and will actually roll the fabric for continuous embroidery without an operator. So there's like lots of cool little, and this is just one small example, but I understand all these things, and I love to learn all this stuff because I get to then expand my knowledge base with customers and teach that kind of stuff. That's like,
awesome.
I just love that.
Yeah.
So, and then of course you have the specialty applications that people will come, hey, I'm looking for a machine that can do this.
Yeah.
For example, we had a customer who came, beautiful, accomplished artist, and he does these amazing oil paintings. Okay. And he wants to turn these oil paintings into embroidery and stretch them on canvas, sell them, and offer that as another part of his offerings. So we had to consult with him. Okay, what's the field size you have to do? How many colors are you doing? What is the application? And we have to kind of go through these little things. And now that's very broad. I'm talking very broad things right now, but we have to go through and figure out, okay, what's going to be best suited for you. And that's where kind of we come in with our our specialties, and understanding, okay, they need this, 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 and this. What's going to be best? So this guy with the oil paintings, he wanted to turn his embroideries into, or his paintings into embroideries. We have a machine that is perfect for it. So we were able to actually sample one of them for him. It had over 1 million stitches, we had to frame it specifically. We had to use special materials. So it's really not only understanding the machine, but understanding and having these relationships. I have awesome relationships with these other manufacturers of backing, threads, so on and so forth, that I also get to experience. So, and not only that, but I'm so lucky to be able to travel the world to see other types of decoration that we may not have here in the US. And I get these ideas, and I get to, talk with these people, and it's just, I don't know. I could go on and on and on.
There you go.
I love that. But the thing I'd like to take away from that is something that I think we can also do as decorators ourselves, is remember that a big part of this is, well, two things. Doing that initial interview with people, that's also what we have to do. We have to be very clear with what people's actual goals are, not just what they've asked us, but what the end result they want is. And then, and yes, of course, since you used my favorite word that I use over and over again, holistic, looking at things holistically, any one of these things being out of sync, if your design's not great, if your machine's not properly maintained, if you don't, and honestly, if you don't have your fulfillment right, if you don't have your finishing right, any of these things can cause you to get a result you don't like. And like I said, one of the reasons Andrea and I geek out so much is because we both have that kind of attitude where it's like, yeah, there's a micro scale happening and a macro scale, and you have to kind of know where all of these pieces are in play to get exactly what you want, especially when you're talking about doing that with efficiency on top of all this creative stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure.
And I mean, it takes there's the normal embroidery,
Mhm.
you know, and it doesn't, you know, and I'm not trying to put this down by any means, but
Sure.
there is, you know, there's one skill set to put a USB in a machine, pull up the design and run the
Yep.
design. Okay.
Yep.
We all started there. But what I've gotten to learn and become passionate about over the years is just all the little things that go, you know,
yeah.
with it. And
Oh yeah.
and that's, I think, one of the reasons why we do get a lot of people who come to us, and I have that kind of design studio and I have the machines at my fingertips. Now it does take time, you know, don't
For
think
sure.
that, you know, this stuff, like, you know, doesn't take time. So just for an
20
example,
years.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Well, yeah, that
right.
too. That too.
So just as an example, here is something that we had
Awesome.
as a question. Okay. Whoop.
There it goes.
There we go. It's like a
So-
matador.
Yeah.
So,
For the podcast
Olay.
listeners, this is an awesome banner that she's showing, a really big flag,
so front or back?
right? Can you tell? So this is a completely two-sided embroidery, folks. So
Front or
completely
back?
two-sided on
Wow.
a single piece. This is not
So-
two pieces put together.
One of the things we had to figure out, and it's not just matching bobbins,
Yeah.
it's how do we make the front look as good as, or the back look as good as the front?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about a lot of different things that go into it, more than just, you know, matching bobbins.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's one of the things that actually I have the machine in the back running right now. We
Mhm.
have a machine, and again, the depth of the line, the ZSK line, allows us to get really into these kind of things. So that machine has like an automatic bobbin changer. Don't get too excited because it's only for flat machines that can only do flat material.
Yep.
We don't have it yet for tubular items. But either way, we have, I have the ability to go and like try it out, you know,
That's
so
cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Totally
So,
tubular, actually. Sorry. I couldn't
Oh, man.
resist. All right.
Come on,
Let me
dude.
let's get a couple of regulators comments in here.
Sure.
Real quick, this one easy, quick. Gusta says, is ZSK an American brand? And I know that's not true. So where are they from?
So ZSK is manufactured in Germany. We are the main importer for ZSK. We do direct selling of the ZSK and support. So we are basically an agent for ZSK, and we
Can you guys
really
service Sweden?
service suite. Well, you'd have to call ZSK for that.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Might be slightly out of Andrea's specific range,
Yeah,
but
but I wouldn't mind going.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
you can hire Andrea in to come consult, though. I know.
Right.
that.
pretty
There
sure
you go.
she'd like that.
All right. Let's. Joanne's got a question here. Any tips and tricks for dealing with density issues? High quality designs are generally high density with beautiful details, but often too heavy for standard garments made from woven fabrics. So, Andrea, you want to try to tackle that, and then obviously, Eric, if you have some thoughts there as well,
I'm trying not to.
I'll
I'm
stay out
sure
of
my
this one.
fingernails
right.
stand up to
Eric,
stuff.
let's
No,
see. Let's see what I say, and then let's see what Eric says.
Okay.
But I bet together, like, we'll both have different ideas. That's one thing that
Sure,
I tell
sure.
people is that you get 100 digitizers in a room to do one design. It's going to be digitized, created 100 different ways.
Absolutely.
So, first
Have
of
you ever had
all,
100 digitizers in a room, though?
um,
I'm sorry. Go, answer the
Not
question,
personally.
Andrew. I'm
Not
sorry.
personally.
I said I'd stay out of
probably,
it. Okay.
probably,
All
you know, with the dorks that I hang out with.
Yeah, that's true. All right, go ahead.
So there's a couple of things. First of all, I would definitely look at the design. And if you can edit that design, obviously bringing out density, you could also, for example, this design that I've done, just the blue background itself is 150,000 stitches. I did certain things. I actually removed some density, added additional underlay to give it a better foundation, and extended the stitch length just a little bit. You do have to kind of look at the fabric that you're stitching on to see what it can handle, because even changing needles can also help. But probably the first thing that I would start with is looking at the design and how do we decrease that density and what kind of density settings do we need for that fabric. Every fabric's going to be different. That's one thing. The fabrics that are less stable need more stability. So you may need more backing, for something like that. So those are my quick,
There you go.
insights on that.
All right, Eric,
I don't have to say hardly anything because that's what I would have done. Honestly, my first problem was, and this is absolutely not me calling out Joanne, but saying you're like high quality designs are generally high density. And I'd be like, high quality designs are generally balanced density because part of the quality is someone managing that density well. And Andrea absolutely has it. Structural underlay that holds up the top stitching, longer stitching, especially in fills. Because a lot of people will go in and do these like 2.5 millimeter, 3 millimeter fills. My fills are always 4 or sometimes 4+ millimeters length in those stitches. Because a lighter fill that has a nicer hand is going to have less stitch penetration points. Remember, we're leaving wedges of thread through that material. That's what's causing all that rippling and stuff, is also the 3-dimensional density, the thread going through the material. So yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those ones where sometimes if you're not digitizing, that design can be the culprit on this stuff with really high density, or if they're putting a bunch of details on top of something that's existing until the point that you have, thread breaks and buckling and stuff.
There you go.
Though I will say,
I love hanging out with smart people. I like it.
Super cheap trick. If you have the ability to resize your design and that the exact size isn't that critical, and I've only done this when I can do it. If you resize a design, you make it bigger without letting it do any sort of stitch processing, you of course lower the density by expanding the space between stitches. So you can cheap out and say, all right, instead of redigitizing this thing, if I'm allowed to have 10% more size, scale everything up without processing, and you suddenly have less density because there's literally more room. But
here's another thing.
Trick.
Oh boy, more tips.
So
awesome.
If let's say you have a design that you resize without the stitch processing, resize it without the stitch processing, and then bring it down with the stitch processing.
Wow.
So depends on your software on that one, because you have to have software that does actually do the processing. Some don't, and also some do. Be careful with things like texture and the way it puts those stitch blocks back together when you do processing. It's not all software is equal when it comes to processing densities, because it has to guess what kind of stitch types are there and replot them. Yeah. Quality may or may not vary, especially if you're doing a lot of handwork. Yeah. Because handwork and little engraving style lines will not process. They'll just be there. Software can't change the lines. Straight stitch lines in engraving style detail will not change.
Gotcha.
Usually. All right. So yeah, see, this is what Andrea and I do for fun. I don't know about you guys.
I know. I'm trying to keep you guys on track here because I know there's some other stuff we want to get to.
I know we're already getting into like bonus time.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eric, what's next? I know that there was some specific stuff that we wanted to talk about with Andrea here. So what else do we need to cover here next?
Do a couple of them. I think we've covered a lot of the questions. You guys know that we work from an outline. It's not a secret that we have it there, but we've covered some of the answers to the questions we had. But let me go ahead and just a couple of things I wanted to say. Like when you're dealing with both specialty treatments and the problems that people are having, what do you think is the biggest stumbling block? What's the chief problem people have first and foremost that they come to you with?
Frustration. I'm not kidding. They get to a point and they're like, I don't know what to do. So that's when we kind of again take a step back and look at it all. The other thing is that dealing with unknown, tested, or untested, I should say, unknown, untested types of things. So, for example, and I'll go into the specialty applications type of stuff. Yeah. Right now, I'm working with a customer who is working with conductive thread. The conductive thread that is available out on the market right now is something that he's used, but he's got something that he's also found that he wants to try. Now, this is not a twist. It's several fibers next to each other. It's like a roving. So right now I'm testing that with him. He's done a lot of tests himself. He's actually he's shown me some of the stuff that he's done, which has done awesome. So I'm working with him right now to actually see if we can get our heads together and get something that will work. So a lot of times people will send me things and say, hey, can you do this? And I'll say, I don't know. but we are going to try our best because I want to do it. Other things like sewing with, yarn that's not yarn, carbon fiber thread, that's another thing that we're testing right now. So we get all these kind of off the wall types of things. And I think the biggest stumbling block is the frustration, and I have, to me, my resources, I'm so lucky to have these wonderful technicians, my family who's been in the industry forever. I don't know if some of you may know my brother, Nick. He and I go back and forth all the time about, like, okay, how do we approach this? He'll come up with ideas. I'll come up with the ideas. And it's just so cool. So can you imagine family dinners, when 6 of the 7 of us work for the family company? So my sister was a smart one, and she went off on her own. So, but yeah, I mean, like, we're just constantly talking about how we can improve machinery, and we do give that feedback to the to the manufacturer software. A lot of these ideas that stem from not only customers, but also ourselves, will go back to the factory, and they will implement those things based on the findings that we find, so that's kind of a really cool thing about what we do and what makes us different, I think, than any, machine that can do, and many machines can do more than just left chest logos, but there's such a depth to this brand that makes for all this fun stuff that I get to do. Yeah.
So it's the chief thing we have to do is like manage someone's burnout rate, and then we can deal with like your digitizing is wonky and your and you need to worry about your thread tension or whatever. We can deal with that stuff.
Right.
I mean, I think I've said that forever. Whenever we teach, it's always like it's 25% of it's self-help, or 25% of it is like counseling. Is like, okay, let's get you back in the mood to do this stitch out one more time, and once we get you where you're willing to do that, now we can find what's wrong with your cat frame.
You're never going to get to the point where you know everything. No. I mean, I constantly learn, and it could be something small to something big, it's just every day I'm learning things, and it could be just from watching a design stitch and being like, oh, I get that, like that, that's a teaching moment. Yeah. And you have to embrace that, embrace, I think you have somebody here that says like, your stumbling blocks are innovation moments. Absolutely. 100%. I'm telling you, I've had several, I am not one to be like, I'm like this magic fairy. You just give me the stuff and I make it happen, So, so for example, I just want to show this real quick because I did put it on a group. This is something that I was working with a customer. This is a 4.5-inch letter. If you look at it from the side, it's 3-dimensional. What she is trying to achieve is doing this large lettering with the 3-dimensional, but without the stitch count, because if we had to do something with several letters at this size, it was going to be like 200,000 stitches, So what we did is we actually came up with this application or this process where there's foam, and then I put a twill material on top. I don't know if it's really hard to see,
but then to see in the black, but there we go. Right there.
There you go.
So there's a twill material on top, but then on top of the twill, it's a very open stitch density. So it looks like it's completely filled. If you look at the back, you can see that there's not that many stitches. Then on the outline, it is like a complete density for foam. This is 2 layers of 3mm foam. So there's 6 millimeters right there, the high density from Madeira. And it's less than 11,000 stitches. So that was something that, it's something that I always have thought about. Yeah. I was like, oh, let's, this is something finally we get to try because of the things, of the requirements. Like the customer did not want applique. The customer did not want the high stitch count, so that you run into these roadblocks with what they want, what they don't want, and what you can do and what you can't do. So we came up with this, and this became a great way to, to fulfill that customer's needs. Yeah. So, there's things like that, every day I get something new, That's
fun. Yeah. Lots of fun. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's got a couple more questions for you here. So, I know that obviously we can tell you've got a passion for this and love this, but at the end of the day, I also know that you're very busy because we have to go to lunch too. So I don't want to take up that lunch time. So I'm not trying to create more work for you here. So maybe what kinds of tips can you offer people looking to create their own solutions and kind of solve problems? What's the best thing that they can do on their own? What you're gonna...
the best thing I think that they can do is, one, gather all the information about a process or an application they're looking at doing. One, gather all that information from the customer, and then think about it, think through it critically, think about, take that step back, and then also reach out to those in the industry, reach out to people. There's many wonderful groups out there that are willing to help each other. Maybe somebody's already done what you are looking to do. I mean, there are so many people that I've, at trade shows, they're like, they see the applique process and they're like, oh, your machine can do that? And it's, you just say, well, yes, it can, but also your machine can do that. It's just a process, Yeah. So reach out to those individuals, reach out to industry people, use, what's totally different from, 20 plus years ago is that people used to hold this information close to them. They did not share. What's great about technology, what's great about this is that people are now willing to share. Even if you have to pay for that knowledge, pay for it, because guess what? It's going to benefit you in the long run. If you have to pay for a class on how to learn applique, a class on how to do emblems, a class on how to do puff, do it, because that's only going to make you better. Also, take a close look at your machine, how it works, those types of things, really get into, I call it the micro aspect, like understand what a needle's doing to your thread, or understand what a needle's doing to your material, what thread does. Thread has a twist. There's different weights of thread. There's different types of thread, So understanding these things, you're always learning. Try to, again, that holistic approach,
Yep. I love it.
So
For sure.
That's my...
This has been... God, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm just geeking out too, because I love how Andrew's putting this stuff, because I think she's got this mindset that I would love all of us to get into. And I can see that our people are really enjoying it. Just so you know, it's like Cindy's saying great information.
Oh,
she loves it. We've got everybody talking about all the variables. That's Joanne says, I know there are many variables. She's smiling. I love that. So it's just so cool. Plus that people have seen some of your other demos, which is cool. Like Letty saying, it fascinated me being able to do the electronics, whether it was the lights or the piano, which I know are like your classic samples you guys have in there with conductive, touch capacitive stuff. So it's all been super great. So I love that.
Yeah, wearable technology is one of the coolest things that's coming out. It's been out for a while, but very underground in the sense of it's been more in the testing phases. But wearable technology, for example, like Google and Levi's, they have that Project Jacquard, where it's basically you can do gestures over your jean jacket to answer your phone, to skip a song, to decline a call, whatever it may be. So it's wearable technology is one of the coolest things. Also, we deal with, this is a whole another episode, but we deal with fiber, like carbon fiber. We have a customer that does carbon fiber wheels on an embroidery machine for race cars. So there's just a whole nother segment that we specialize in and help with, and we we're understanding that depth of knowledge. Or we have that depth of knowledge to understand all these different things that go into it. So I'm so lucky to be able to be exposed to all of this and then share it with people.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, as Ramona says here, I think we're all lucky to have you as a source for us. Andrew, we need to broadcast you on Andrea TV to all new users and seasoned users too.
There you go.
I agree.
So Eric, I love tech. I would definitely wear that jean jacket. I'm not a jean jacket guy typically, but if it had that tech in it, I'm down.
You can go buy one now.
All right.
It's available. It's available on Levi's, I think.
All right.
Well, it's only a cool $500.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if Levi's would like to show that off to people in the decorators community, they can send me one, and I would wear it. How about that?
Influencer marketing people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. Well,
close us out here, Eric.
I think you also have a 5 things, if I'm correct. So
do.
We will get you there. But before we do that, we always do close out the first segment. Where can people find out more from you?
So, Andrea,
we know you're a YouTube star.
Yeah, YouTube, the ZSK YouTube channel, we all know. You can go and see, Andrea, for sure.
So ZSK Machines is our YouTube channel, zskmachines.com. My email address is just Andrea, Andrea, at zskmachines.com. You can find me at the various trade shows when we do go back.
Yep.
Right now, again, we are experiencing some, our own supply challenges. Although we have heard that we'll be getting a container in here, actually a few containers in here pretty soon.
Nice.
But hopefully, you can always, you can always email me. That's kind of where I'm connected most.
There you go.
Facebook, now I'll tell you that I'm not great on Facebook. But you can certainly find me as under Andrea Bommarito, under our ZSK Embroidery Technologies and Support Group. And it's not just, you don't have to have a ZSK to go in that group. There's some cool things that you see in there that we help and try to, propel people forward,
Sure.
with learning things.
Excellent. All right, cool, Andrea. Well, as Eric said, we'll get you into the 5 things segment here. So, Eric, whenever you're ready, sir.
Yeah, let's get ready for 5 things. All right. So, Andrea, give us your 5 things.
All right. So 5 things that, we need to keep in our minds while sampling or figuring out an application for customers is 1, charge for your sampling. Especially for something that's uncommon or special application, your expertise and your time is worth something. Whether you charge for it up front or whether you charge for it within the order, you need to charge for it. Just as this special application we talked about with the foam, there's time invested and that time takes you away from other things. So charge for it. Number 2, at first, if you don't succeed, try again. We talked a little bit about this earlier in that, our frustrations usually get to the best of us. Sometimes what you need to do is you need to, you get frustrated, you criticize yourself, you get tired of it. Take a step back, regroup, maybe try to think outside those normal parameters, reach out to people in the industry and see if other people have ideas. There are going to be times where we quote unquote fail. There's going to be times where you have restrictions where you can't do something, but don't let your frustration get to the best of you. Number 3, take notes during your testing. Take notes of what works and what doesn't work. You'll start to see that as you get into some testing, you may get really deep into it and it's like, oh gosh, what did I try? What have I done? And not only that, but also, maybe in the future, those notes will help you with other types of applications. So if you come across something that's similar to the process that you were testing, you can look back at those notes and be like, oh yeah, this is what worked. You know what? Maybe I'll try and apply that. So keep those notes. There's software actually that you can keep notes in, like your digitizing software, that you can say, okay, this test 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Number 4. So when you actually do that application or process, charge for it. Don't charge on your typical stitch count or color numbers or, the run-of-the-mill left chest embroidery types of parameters. Charge on the process. It may be less time, it may be less stitches, but it's a special process. For example, we have customers who do shoes. Not everybody can do shoes because, one, they don't have the frame or machine capability or whatever it may be. Shoe is something specialty, so charge for it. Don't sell yourself short, if you will. So special applications definitely offer a higher value, and you don't want to run that value down. Then you're just kind of, making it, you're not making it valuable. Number 5, congratulate yourself. Be proud of your accomplishments and of your failures, because your failures and your accomplishments, you're learning, you're growing. Indulge in something to celebrate with, whether it is ice cream, a glass of wine, geeking out with your friends about it. Congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back. You may be disappointed, but guess what? You grew with that. So those are my 5 things.
Awesome.
All awesome.
There you go.
So good. Thank you.
Congratulations to you, Andrea. Great job. We love celebrating here on the Two Regular Guys. All right. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thank you.
I've
guys.
learned stuff, which, when we get to embroidery, I'm just, for whatever reason, I just have always been dense when it comes to embroidery. So
you would use the word dense. It's like one more dad joke in the middle.
Yeah,
it's just
it turned
different.
out that way. Just different. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm actually excited to embroider next week. So there we go. All right, Andrea. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you guys.
We'll be in touch soon. And sugar fire, here we come. Bye, Andrea. Awesome. Little inside joke for Andrea and I. There's a barbecue joint here in St. Louis called Sugar Fire that is delicious. So it's been a while since her and I had a chance to go get lunch there. All right, Erich. Well, fantastic stuff from Andrea, as always. Into bonus time, even. Shocker that you and I did a show that's bonus time.
Of course.
And then we bring Andrea into the picture, and just again, the depth and wealth of knowledge that she has is incredible, and she's such a humble person too. So just love hanging out with her. All right. Well, let's real quick here. Terry has got some things coming up, and then we'll catch what you've got coming up and go from there. So Terry's got his complete screen printing business course happening at Atlas Screen Supply on August 21st through the 22nd. So if you want to check that out, I was talking to him yesterday before he left on his trip, and he was saying that they've been selling out. So the sooner you can get signed up for that, the better. He will also then, in the Chicago area, will be at the DAX Chicagoland, the Tinley Park event happening on August 27th. And on that day, from 8:30 to noon, he'll be teaching, Am I Doing This Right? Pro tips for screen printing. I told him I would be popping in and just asking him some random question and see if I was doing it right. But apparently he wants to talk screen printing too. So, but he's pretty excited about it because part of the event's going to also be hands-on. The folks over at Atlas are bringing some equipment in for him. So not only do you get to learn from Terry, a long-time veteran screen printer who teaches screen printing classes, you also get to get hands-on with them. So if you want more details about that, you can find it over at terrycombs.com. And Erich, what about you? What's coming up for you?
All right. Well, for me, of course, today I have the take up. So at 2:30 Mountain Time, as we know, that is where I'm from, and no comment about Arizona time since Terry's not here.
That's right.
He doesn't get to take over with his Arizona version of Mountain Time. We're going to be talking about kind of another Q&A episode. Every once in a while, you guys know that I do these Q&A episodes where we get to kind of discuss stuff that people have asked me throughout the week. And this one is drawing from machine embroidery, missing letters, and more. So these are actually questions people came up with both at the DAX show. So some things about my elevating embroidery digitizing class, so some questions there, and some that just came in the last couple of weeks. So I'm doing kind of a cleanup. What that also means, though, is I'm fully expecting the reciprocators to show up and ask their live questions. So 2:30 Mountain Time, check it out today. As you guys also know, my Understanding Emblems class, the patch class that I did with the Decorators community, is now available as a recording. So you can check that out at decorators.education/emblems. And everybody who's asked about that, that is still available as a recording. If you purchase it now, you can watch the entire 4 hours. And as I've been told repeatedly, the entire saga of how to do patches is there. And then have to say, had a great class at DAX Chicago, or at DAX for KC, but now we're going into Minnesota and Chicagoland. So if you guys have not seen it before, you can get out to Treasure Island, you can get out to Tinley Park. I will be teaching again, Elevate Your Embroidery Digitizing. So that's one very similar to some of my other courses that people had wanted to come back. So doing all that again, go check that out at daxshow.com. And I'll also be appearing at Impressions Expo Fort Worth, teaching specialty thread, design, digitizing, and marketing, and appearing on the Madeira USA's panel, Elements of Excellent Embroidery. So that's the kind of the end of my cycle. So check that out as well if you want to see me teaching live.
There you go. Busy guy. I love it. Now, everything's kind of compact at the end of the year here. So
more and more.
Keeping busy. Nice. All right. For me, real quick, Eric.
Yes.
We just launched, kind of introduced it at DAX Kansas City, and did a live about it yesterday. Our brand new 5 keys of growing your and launching your business online training module program. Super excited about this because it gives businesses the foundation that they need to be able to price their products for profit, know their overhead, build a workflow and process, have a customer service plan, as well as a good marketing foundation. All too often, people's marketing is the spray and pray method, right? and we want to give you a foundation of, if you know who your ideal customer is, and we're going to help you find that. Once you know who your ideal customer is, marketing becomes a lot easier and a lot cheaper because you're getting in front of the right people. So looking forward to getting more feedback and hearing from people. We've had people go through this already, and it's really drastically changed their business. So if you want to check that out, it's oursuccessgroup.com/5 keys. We've got an introductory price going on right now. We decided, you know what, we're going to have this introductory price all the way through the DAX show season. So it's good until August 31st. But as I mentioned yesterday in the video, if you saw that, the sense of urgency, we didn't feel like we needed to manufacture some sense of urgency, because the sense of urgency is the sooner you get this implemented in your business, the sooner you're going to get to your idea of success. So, nice. Really great stuff, I believe, coming from that. And Kathleen, I see your question there. I'll jump in and answer it. Or if Todd, if you're still hanging around, maybe you could jump in on Kathleen's question there. So good question for sure. I'll get into the comments and check that, get with you on that. All right. And then also I've been mentioning that I will be embroidering coming up next week. And that's what I'm told. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. As much as I hate needles, I don't feel like they'll be touching me in any way. So we'll be good.
Keep your hands out of the hoop. You'll be
That's
fine.
Right. I've been warned. I have all the proper knowledge now, thanks to Eric and Andrea, and I'll be in very good hands with Lisa and Christine, Lisa Shaw. Absolutely. And Christine Shreve. So I will be at Applique Getaway, and that's happening July 23rd through the 25th. I'm teaching a couple classes there. So on the 23rd, I'm talking about going from hobby to business, the 5 keys to success. On Saturday, the 24th, I will be teaching Conquering Fear and Living to Tell About It. More of a mindset thing, but really, I think, helpful for business owners, because as a small business owner, we've got to do a lot of things that are outside of our comfort zone. And so I've got a system that I've learned through my work with the success principles for taking our fears and turning them into success. So check that out. You go to appliquegetaway.com for more information. It's an in-person event as well as a live event. So check it out. I'm really excited to get out there and see it. This will be my first time there, and I've heard wonderful things about it. And then finally,
got a little FOMO for that one.
Yeah, there you go.
Got some FOMO on that one.
Yeah. Well, sure. I'll try to video and take pictures and pretend like you're there with me, Eric. How about that?
I'll send the cardboard cutout.
There you go. I like it. All right. Well, coming up in 10 minutes, Eric, we got 10 minutes. Wow. You can catch the half with Eric and I. It's the only time in our lives, I believe, that we'll be on time. So True. It is 30 minutes of Q&A. And we have no script, no preconceived what we're going to do. We show up, you guys ask questions, we answer them, we interact, we engage, we have a blast. It's a chance just to say hi for 30 minutes and really enjoy getting to talk to the community. So please come over and check that out. You can find that at Live OSG, which takes you to the Our Success Group YouTube page. Or if you're over there on YouTube, you search for Eric Campbell and you can find Eric there. Or if you're a Facebook person that wants to catch it on Facebook, we're happy to have you there too. Facebook.com/Our Success Group Pro. Or again, find Eric ERICH. What's that?
Anywhere I am, you'll find that.
Yep. Anywhere Aaron's at, Eric's there too. So, and with Eric's awesome name, easy to find him. ERICH Campbell, and you will find him. So that's coming up in 10 minutes now, Eric. So I think that'll do it. We probably
have to finish one show before we get to the next one.
Yeah, we should. We should probably, give ourselves a chance to take a restroom break and all that kind of stuff. So, so anyhow, from there, we want to thank Andrea so much for her time. Really appreciate her being there, and it's been great talking to her. And yes, wealth of information. Having you two together makes it even better because just that opportunity to bounce things off each other is totally cool. I felt like we got to be part of that phone conversation you guys have all the time, right?
It was hard not to just bust into that. Admittedly, it was hard not to just get into our chats because we do have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So, great stuff there. So, thanks so much to Andrea for being here, and Eric, thanks so much to you for producing and hosting all at the same time.
Well, sometimes we push the same button at the same time, but you and I get our right.
We get there. We get there.
All right. Well, until then, I'm Eric Campbell sitting in for Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And we are the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.